All right, welcome back to the second of a series on how to switch from Fusion to Onshape. Last time we made this sketch plane cube. One of the things that I didn't talk about is that you don't need to save. It's a lot like Google that it's just going to keep track of what you did. So you're never going to have the "it didn't save" moment. So if you don't see kind of what I show here, click on your Onshape logo up here. It's going to show you what you've last opened and your folders and other various documents that you have. And let's go ahead and go into your practice folder. So right now you should show your folder up here. And the only thing you have, unless you did some other stuff, is your sketch plane cube. We're going to start a new document while we're in this folder, create document. Okay. And let's call that Saturn. We're going to make a planet, learn how to do some things with that and some other things. Now, as we had before, we have a part studio, which is kind of like parts. We have an assembly environment to put things together. Let's go ahead and do what we did before. And we're going to sketch on the front view. Remember how to get rid of planes. P gets rid of the planes that you don't want to see, and N for normal to go to here. Let's go ahead and make a circle. It's going to be Saturn. Now this time, I don't really care about what things are blue or what size we make things. We're just going to make it approximate this time. So before we define things, this time we're just going to either hit escape or click off of it. Now we do need to make a vertical line. Now here's how this works in Fusion. Notice if you hover over this for a second and then drag, it's going to give you a line, the polar things. And see that little gray dot that shows up? That means it's holding it vertical. So right now you see there's two constraints there. There is a vertical constraint saying, oh, I guess you want to make that line vertical and you want it coincident to the circle, which I do. Click. Okay. Oops, I'm not sure why it didn't. Okay, fine. Boom. Okay. Now that's black because it's held in place. We also want to go from here and we want to go straight down, snapped, both vertical and we want to make sure that that's straight. Okay, now that's going to represent our planet. Let's go ahead and make this. And we'll talk about how we can manipulate sketches and things in a moment. So I'm going to finish the sketch. We're going to revolve. Okay, we're going to revolve half, doesn't matter which half. Okay, our axis then. Now this is a little different than Fusion. Notice it gives us a pink thing. Pink means it wants you to select it. So I have a face selected. It shows it that here. If I didn't like that choice, I can get rid of it. And now it say, oh, what do you want to do? I'll choose that face. Now, in order for me to choose the axis, I have to click that and make it blue to activate it. And now I can choose what axis I want to go around. And it's going full right now. You could do one direction and make it, like right now it's 30 degrees. Most of the time you're going to revolve full. Okay. And just like Fusion, when you've made something, it thinks that you don't want to see the sketch anymore and it kind of hides it from you. But let's go ahead and turn on that sketch again. Little eyeball says, oh, okay, we can turn that on. And just like in Fusion, we can edit that sketch by double clicking on it. And now we're back in that sketch again. Now, the extrusion didn't go away. The revolve is still there. Okay, so if I get rid of the sketch, notice that it will bring that back. We want to see this. And now let's draw a few things. And we're going to, now I don't want it to be held. A little thing about doing this is if you hit the shift button down while you're making something, it won't have you accidentally line things up. So if you see that there and you don't want it like this, which I don't want you to make things lined up right now, hit the shift key first and notice now that line doesn't show up while you're holding the shift key down. So let's just make a rectangle here. Let's make another one. Again, I don't want that showing up. And another one. And let's make another one. And let's make a circle or two just for fun. Now the circle, I can have my center points lined up, and that's okay. Notice that I'm going back to the center point. Cool, and I'll just make one more. And I've hovered over that center point, make sure it goes all the way back. A couple circles and some rectangles. Now, in order to line these up so that they're perfectly oriented, I need the midpoint. So let's get a point here and put that point. You might have to zoom in a little bit. See that square that shows up? That square means I'm hooking up to the midpoint of that line. Let's do this over here too. Now, again, I don't want it lined up with things, so I'm going to hit the Shift key, except I need it to line up here. So you might have to zoom in a ways. Make sure that not just the line, the dashed line, but that square shows up. I want that, and I want that. Okay, and I already lined those up. Now, up here are all your different constraints. I want a horizontal constraint to horizontally constrain that center point, that point I just made to the center, this point to the center. Did you see it move? And that point to the center. Cool. All right. Now, they're blue because I haven't really defined the sizes of anything yet, and that's okay. And plus, we could go back and change it. Let's go ahead and finish this sketch. Now, remember that blue was still there, okay? And now I'm going to make these guys by using my revolve. I want to choose all of them by clicking each one. And then we want our axis. Remember, you have to make it blue. And we're going to revolve around that axis. Cool. Now, when I hit check mark, notice there are all of these parts in here that are all separate parts because they're not touching each other. So it made separate bodies, essentially. I'm going to turn off this sketch also. You can go change the appearance of those if you would like. You know, you can go back and say, wow, my Saturn is not that big. Let's go back into sketch one and let's make that a lot bigger. Okay, and it will change that for you. So just like Fusion, you can change all of these different things. Now, let's say that I've gone back into sketch one. In fact, let's go ahead and do this. And either move your rectangle in or your circle out so that these guys are blended with each other. Okay. Now notice that there's still parts. We can turn on and off parts over here, the visibility of them. But if I wanted to make those the same thing, one of the things we can do is we can use Boolean. So I want to make part one and part two the same. So let's go ahead and click on part one, hold the control button down and click on part two. We're going to go up to Boolean, okay? And it says, oh, what do you want to do here? Well, I want to union those, okay? You can also keep where they intersect. You could subtract one from the other, but we want to union. Whoops, I need to choose those two parts again. Whoops, I don't want part three. There we go. Oh, I must have already unioned them, or it's showing me now that it's going to be union. Click check, and now that has become one part. All right, let's go ahead and take an image of that along with your browser. And congratulations, you've made your second part of learning how to use Fusion.